Today I am presenting you the Clash of the Titans, an epic battle between the Rolex Submariner versus the Omega Seamaster 300M, going into relevant details and facts, point by point until we determine a clear winner. And for that I have prepared 10 topics that will help us understand the weaknesses and the advantages of each diver, being obviously rated, ending up with a final ranking and a clear victor. And then allow me to present the competitors. On the left hand corner we have a diver that needs no introduction. Gone but not forgotten, the Rolex Submariner with the reference 114060. And on the right corner with the reference that looks like an IP address, the almighty Omega Seamaster 300M. And in order to save my own skin and cover up my hate for the Rolex hype, we have a jury to judge and to rate each category, which will determine our victorious diver. And to determine the winner of this battle, we need a clear format, but also justified arguments. And for this reason, the judge will annotate the watches from 1 to 10 for each category. So please welcome the new James Bond Millennial and the Hans Wilsdorf late adopter, the other side of Andre, our judge. And you can see that the referee is totally impartial and he is wearing an independent brand on the wrist, the Oris Aquis. Although these two icons have roots from the 40s and the 50s, the battle between these two models should be recorded starting with the 90s onwards, once the brands decided to compete literally, because this Seamaster platform with twisted lugs arching towards the exterior and a helium escape valve at 11 o'clock appeared once with the introduction of James Bond. And I believe since then it was a head-to-head battle until today, when both brands were fortifying their divers, upgrading them from one generation to another. The Seamaster 300M with the reference 210 32 42 20 01 001 was launched in 2018 at Baselworld. A flashy design crafted with the help of modern machining like laser, plus a beautiful and capable coaxial movement inside. So we can conclude that this 300M is a very appealing watch to collect, period. I remember I bought mine for 3,000 euros in 2019. It was a bargain. And on the other side, this version of Rolex Submariner with the reference 114060 was launched in 2012, bringing a completely new design that marked the addition of new materials in design language for the brand, such as ceramic, white gold, platinum and geometrical angles. So this reviewed sub was made in 2019 and it was acquired for 9,000 euros. So 3 times the price of this 300M, but we will see why. And I think it is time to start our competition to the death with our first topic. So we will start the first category, which is called the brand history of the diving watches. Briefly, the Seamaster was born in the fire of World War II, transitioning from the wrists of the Allies in a shape of a field watch to a later diver watch, which equipped early the wrists of COMEX divers in their tests starting with 1968. Now the misinformation from social media today says that Rolex was actually the sole provider of tool watches for COMEX, but in reality and initially it was Omega with the Seamaster 300 and the Ploprof. Rolex choosing to test their Sea Dweller prototypes with the US Navy, if I remember well. But then Rolex, before providing Sea Dwellers to COMEX, they had years of struggle to keep the helium outside their diving watches, and their submariners had issues with the compression. Their crystals were popping off because of the pressure. However, they fixed later on the issue with the addition of the helium escape valve on the Sea Dweller. Props to the brand because they played the lessons learned path, succeeding in the end to launch reliable divers one after another. But judging objectively the historical facts, the jury granted 10 out of 10 for Omega because they were the pioneers to put tool watches for official diving activities before Rolex. And the Submariner will get 9 out of 10 because the star of the show back in the days was the Sea Dweller, not necessarily the Submariner. Now moving to the next chapter, the Bond appeal. As popularity, it is important to know that the series James Bond, written by Ian Fleming, put on the map the Rolex Submariner and it revived the Seamaster brand across time. The brand Seamaster grew up starting with the 90s once with the addition of the blue Seamaster on the wrists of Pierce Brosnan in James Bond. Since then, the Seamaster is identified as the Bond watch, although the standard later versions were made only in limited editions, excepting for the last one, the No Time to Die edition, where the Submariner started its career in 1962 on the wrists of Sean Connery in Dr. No and Goldfinger. And then in time the 007 production transitioned to other Rolex models like the GMT Pepsi Pussy Galore or other brands like Breitling, Seiko, and the list goes on until the Omega era. And for this reason, our judge offers 10 out of 10 for the Omega Diver, for the Bond Seamaster long relationship, where the Submariner is granted with 9 out of 10 because of the super important association with Sean Connery and Bond. Now getting into depth, we are looking at the dials of these watches. The Seamaster offers a great lacquered experience because of the highly polished ceramic that matches the finishing of the bezel insert. Besides that, the dial complexity was increased once with the addition of the laser engravings, which represents the iconic waves, a throwback to the iconic Seamaster Bond 2531. We have some interesting red accents inherited as well from the blue Bond model. The highly polished rhodium plated hands are made in the same spirit, which are skeletonized, but as extras they added the different green lume accent for diving purposes on the minute hands. And as for the dial layout, we have the same composition with the double markers at 12 o'clock and then with a single one at 3, 6 and 9, succeeding to balance very well the dial but still placing the date window at 6 o'clock. And as lume, Omega uses Superluminova, filling very well the applied indexes, making everything very legible. Now, this sub comes with a similar dial layout, simplified and dateless. Firstly, we have the Cerachrome ceramic insert and the numerals and graduations coated in platinum. And then inside we have a black lacquered dial with applied markers filled with chromalite lume. And then we have the iconic hands, which are made in white gold for better longevity. Although I've seen 4 or 7 years Rolexes gaining small dots of corrosion or impurities gathered on the hands, probably because of the bad handling. But anyway, the judge is ready to provide us the ratings. On this chapter, the Seamaster is receiving the rating 9 out of 10, where the Rolex Submariner received 10 out of 10 because of the sober dial and the precious materials used. And then design-wise, the Seamaster design language was determined a long time ago, once with the release of the Seamaster 300. And the case of the Seamaster with a twist was actually invented by Huguenon Frère Compagnie, a platform that was capable to withstand a depth ratings up to 300 meters without the need of a screw-down crown or a helium escape valve. Today, the coaxial Seamaster 300M offers a modernized case of the initial Bond release with an added feature on the case back. A very well finished case, complex and appealing, but with a small flaw on the outer bezel. Some people just don't like the bezel action because of the less grippy surface. Now, the Rolex Maxi case was introduced in 2005 with the release of the new generation GMT Master 2. So the first watch to feature the new Maxi case was the GMT Master 2 with the reference 116718. Now the Submariner, which was launched in 2012, offered a well-modernized oyster case. So the platform was developed and perfected in time to serve the purpose, to sit elegant and appealing in the same time. Also, the use of the materials and the bezel action recalls to be the best on the market. Just feel it. So in this chapter, the twist of the Seamaster receives from the judge 10 out of 10, where the sub gets only 9 out of 10 because of the reduced complexity of the case, and if you don't like this, just kill the judge. As versatility, the black Seamaster 300M can host a lot of straps from red to black or something having both accents. Also, besides the standard strap or the rubber, works on Milanese, also on NATOs. But the downside of wearing NATOs is that it makes the watch to look taller on the wrist. Where the Submariner, because has no colored accents, it is more sober and can host different colors from warm to cold accents, from red to blue to green or to orange. And here as well, the old 20mm lug width helps as well to host more and more straps. And in a way, the Seamaster is advertised as a great platform which is able to use different straps, where on the sub it is made and advertised to kind of stick to the bracelet. And because of that, it is kind of a pain to fit straps that are loose on the spring bar holes, because the edge of the sub will literally chop from the straps. And as a total, our judge is granting 9 out of 10 for the Seamaster, and for the Submariner we have as well 9 out of 10. In the middle of the battle, I have to announce that the Seamaster is leading the competition with 4.8 points in average, where the Submariner gained only 4.6 points. And a lot of reasons to stick with me until the end. Also, a subscribe would do even better. Gracias. Now, in terms of wearability, the watches are pretty different. The Seamaster came up on a rubber, so I cannot compare their bracelets, but I can compare the way they sit on the wrist and the way they are built for this purpose. The Seamaster has a beefy design. It is a 42mm that it wears like a 42mm watch. And if you're looking for a discreet diver that can slide under a sleeve, this is not it. Potentially on the bracelet, the Seamaster might have a unitary feel that goes well with long sleeves, but I've never tested it. On the other end, the Submariner is better proportioned and it is better tailored, so it sits better on the wrists. Also compared with its competitor, has a reduced width of 2mm and a diminished height compared to the Seamaster. And for this reason the Seamaster gains 8 out of 10 points, where the Rolex Submariner, being a diver, sits extremely well on the wrist, gaining 10 out of 10 points from our judge. Now on the movement chapter, it is pretty unfair to compare these two watches because the Omega Seamaster came up with a beautiful master chronometer caliber 8800, a cost movement with an anti-magnetic resistance up to 1.5 Tesla or 15,000 Gauss. And this particular one works with +2 seconds per day, having 55 hours power reserve. And then this Rolex Submariner has the superlative chronometer 3130, an outdated caliber but still with amazing specs. This is a robust and an accurate caliber thanks to its full balance bridge and regulation to run within ±2 seconds per day, having a power reserve of 48 hours. And as a total, the Seamaster receives 9 out of 10 for the visible decorated movement, the features and the marketing around it, where the Submariner received 7 out of 10. The movement is excellent, don't get me wrong, the accuracy is spot on, working constantly with -2 seconds per day, but in terms of features there must be a difference of at least 2 points between these two models. And then moving to the brand, as brand comparison, in my view they were both contributors to the conquering of the space and the oceans, starting with the space travel, the Tektite project, Comex, Jacques Cousteau's adventures, Bond and many more. However, as brand popularity, I think there is no doubt which one is the popular brand out there. I think Omega does excellent watches, but Rolex does better branding. So when you take the product as a whole, the watch is complemented by the brand prestige, and here Rolex must be the winner. Not to mention that Omega started to mirror Rolex's products recently with the Seamaster 300 Hulk, the colored Aquaterras or the Daytona-like Speedmasters. And when you're a brand like the Omega caliber, you just don't do that. So for the brand Omega, our judge offers the rating 8 out of 10, where the brand Rolex receives 10 out of 10. And now moving to the price chapter. The launch price of the Seamaster 300M in 2018 was below $4,000. But great discounts were offered back then, and with a bit of luck you could have grabbed the new Seamaster Coaxial 300M on a rubber for around 3,000 euros. But since then Omega increased the prices of the Seamaster 2 or 3 times, cutting also the discounts. And then the Submariner prices increased year by year, getting into a point where they doubled as retail. In 2021 I bought the new Sub No Date for around 8,000 euros from the AD, but currently in the upcoming weeks the price will increase once again, concluding that the Seamaster offers by far a better value for the money asked, where on the Sub, despite the watch capability, there is a lot of brand cost addition to it. And overall our judge offered 9 out of 10 for the Seamaster because of the great value offered for the money asked, where the Submariner gets 8 out of 10 because it is pricey but it offers great value retention. And now speaking about the value retention, I think there is no point of comparison once again here. The Rolex Submariner, as you know, because it's unobtainable, it is usually selling very good on the pre-owned market, with the possibility to gain an extra 40 or 50% on resale, depending on the condition of the model. Where the Seamaster, only if it is bought for a great deal, you can barely recover the amount spent on resale. And for this reason the Rolex will clearly win this chapter, having 10 out of 10 points from the judge, where the Seamaster goes 8 out of 10. Not ideal, but still a brand that holds its value. And now the moment of truth. The epic battle has come to an end. In the middle the Seamaster was leading with 0.2 points, but let's still see if the final results will bring the Seamaster on top. The judge is opening the vault, getting the results out. And after 10 rounds, the almighty Omega Seamaster 300M received the rating 9.0 out of 10. And wow, this is tight. Now the referee is showing the rating of the Rolex Submariner, which is... Damn, the tablet goes out of battery, it needs to be recharged. And 10 minutes later, the judge is opening the tablet, showing now the rating of the Submariner, and it is 9.1. Unbelievable. No, the Submariner won the battle against the Seamaster. This is outrageous. What is this? I arranged this battle so the Seamaster can win with better arguments and ratings. How come the Submariner won? Jesus, a lot of people will be upset for this. Damn, my analytical part voted for the Submariner. I'll fire this guy. So yeah, to keep it short, that was it. Hope you enjoyed this epic battle between the Seamaster and the Submariner, and I'm really curious to know, in your view, what would have been the ideal winner between these two models. Please let me know in the comments section, and as usual, if you're new here, please consider subscribing for future episodes. Thank you very much, thanks for watching, and until next time, be brave, boy. Stay safe.